I missed my sibling's wedding. After they refused to let me bring my partner and my family supported him. My brother and I have always been close, or so I thought. We grew up sharing everything, from toys to teenage secrets. When he announced his engagement, I was thrilled. I couldn't wait to celebrate his big day and support him as his only sibling. But everything changed when the wedding planning began. I've been with my girlfriend, Emma, for 2 years. She's kind, smart, and supportive, and everyone in my family seems to like her, or so I assumed. When the wedding invitations went out, I noticed mine was addressed only to me. No mention of a +1. I figured it was a mistake and called my brother to clarify. To my shock, he told me it wasn't a mistake. He and his fiancée had decided on a no +1s rule, to keep the guest list small. I asked why Emma wasn't considered family, given how long we've been together, and his response floored. Me? She's not your wife. If she were, it'd be different. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I reminded him that Emma had been by my side through thick and thin, including during a tough time last year when I lost my job. She even helped me get back on my feet. But he wouldn't budge. He said it was his wedding and I needed to respect their rules. I tried to let it go, but Emma was hurt. She's never felt excluded by my family before, and this felt like a slap in the face. I started to see things differently too. If my brother couldn't acknowledge how important Emma is to me, did he really value my relationship? The final straw came when I found out that other guests were allowed to bring +1s. It wasn't a universal rule. It was just us. I called him again to ask why, and he got defensive, accusing me of trying to ruin his wedding with drama. At that point, I made my decision. If Emma wasn't welcome, I wouldn't go. I told my brother as much, and he didn't take it well. He said I was being selfish and putting my girlfriend above family. I countered that family doesn't make you choose between them and the person you love. The wedding happened last weekend, and I wasn't there. My parents are upset with me, saying I should have gone for the sake of peace, but I can't help feeling like I made the right choice. Emma means the world to me, and I couldn't sit there pretending everything was fine. Now my brother and I aren't speaking, and my parents are pressuring me to apologize. But for what? For standing up for my relationship? For refusing to accept being treated as less than? I'm torn between wanting to fix things and staying true to my principles. What do you think? Was I wrong to skip the wedding, or was my brother out of line? Here's the first update for your review. Update 1. It's been a week since the wedding, and the fallout has been worse than I anticipated. My brother finally broke his silence, but not in the way I hoped. He sent me a long, scathing text accusing me of ruining his special day and making everything about myself. He said that I embarrassed him in front of extended family by not showing up, and that people were asking questions about why I wasn't there. I was stunned. I've always supported him, and this was the first time I've ever stood my ground against him. I replied, calmly explaining my perspective. I told him that excluding Emma, especially when other guests were allowed to bring +1s, felt like a deliberate slight. I even pointed out that Emma has never caused any drama or conflict within our family, so the decision felt unjustifiable. He didn't take it well. He doubled down, saying it was his wedding, his rules, and accused me of being overly sensitive. I asked him point-blank why Emma was singled out, but he refused to give me a straight answer. Instead, he deflected by bringing up how I've always been the difficult one in the family. That stung. Meanwhile, my parents are actively taking his side. They called me for a family discussion, which turned into an ambush. They told me I should have just gone to the wedding and dealt with the issue later. My mom said I disrespected the family by not attending, and my dad told me that I'm overreacting and letting Emma control me. Emma overheard part of the conversation, and I could see how much it hurt her. She's been nothing but supportive through all of this, even telling me she wouldn't have minded if I'd gone to the wedding alone just to keep the peace. But I know that would have devastated her deep down. I'm starting to feel isolated. My parents are clearly upset with me. My brother refuses to talk things out, and even some extended family members have reached out, urging me to apologize. One of my aunts said, It's just one day, you should have let it slide. But is it really just one day? To me, this feels bigger than the wedding. It's about respect. Respect for my relationship and my choices. If I cave now, what's to stop my family from dismissing Emma again in the future? I'm torn. I don't want to lose my family over this, but I also don't want to set a precedent that it's okay to treat Emma as less than. For now, I'm holding my ground. But the pressure is getting to me. Update 2. It's been a couple of weeks since my last update, and things have taken an unexpected turn. Just as I was beginning to feel completely alienated, my cousin Natalie reached out to me. She's my age and someone I've always been close to, but we hadn't spoken much since the wedding. Natalie told me she heard what happened and thought the whole situation was unfair. She revealed that at the wedding, there had been whispers among the guests about my absence, and when someone asked my brother why I wasn't there, he brushed it off, saying I was too busy to attend. That really set me off. Not only was he blaming me for not being there, but he was also lying about why I missed the wedding. I told Natalie the full story, including how Emma was singled out and why I made the decision to stay home. She was shocked. What surprised me the most was what she told me next. Apparently, I wasn't the only one who felt slighted. Another, cousin David, had been planning to bring his boyfriend of 2 years to the wedding, but was told last minute that it might make some guests uncomfortable. David ended up going alone, but Natalie said he was furious and felt like he couldn't say anything without causing a scene. Hearing this confirmed something I'd been suspecting all along. My brother and his fiance's decision to exclude Emma wasn't just a random choice. It was rooted in their own biases. I decided to confront my brother again, armed with this new information. I sent him a long message outlining everything I'd learned and calling out his behavior. I told him that his actions were hurtful, not just to me but to others in the family as well. I even brought up David's situation, though I didn't name Natalie as the source. His response? Radio silence. For days, he didn't reply, and I started to wonder if I'd gone too far. But then, out of the blue, he called me. The conversation was tense, to say the least. He accused me of dragging other people into this and said I was making things worse by refusing to let it go. When I pressed him about why Emma and David's boyfriend were excluded, he finally admitted that his fiancée had been the one pushing for it. She thought having non-traditional couples at the wedding would take the focus off the bride and groom. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told him that if he was willing to go along with such a ridiculous excuse, then he was just as much to blame. He tried to defend her, saying she was stressed about the wedding and didn't mean any harm. I told him that stress doesn't excuse disrespect and that he needed to take responsibility for his own actions. By the end of the call, it was clear we were at an impasse. He wasn't willing to apologize, and I wasn't willing to pretend everything was fine. The fallout has extended beyond just my brother. My parents are upset that I dragged family drama into the open, and now some extended relatives are taking sides. David has reached out to thank me for speaking up, but others are telling me I should have just let it go. Emma has been my rock through all of this, reminding me that standing up for what's right isn't always easy. But I'd be lying if I said this wasn't taking a toll on me. I'm starting to wonder if this rift with my family can ever be repaired. Update 3. It's been a few months since the fallout with my brother, and I finally come to terms with the fact that our relationship may never go back to what it once was. After the tense phone call, I decided to take a step back from the situation. I realized that I was spending too much emotional energy trying to get him to see my perspective, and it just wasn't worth it anymore. Emma and I have focused on building a life together that brings us joy, regardless of what my family thinks. But things didn't just fizzle out with my brother and his wife. Oh no, there were more fireworks. A few weeks ago, my parents invited me to a family dinner. I was hesitant at first, but they assured me it would just be a small gathering and a chance to clear the air. Against my better judgment, I agreed to go. Emma was skeptical but supportive, telling me she'd back whatever decision I made. When I arrived, I immediately regretted it. My brother and his wife were there, along with my parents, a couple of aunts, and Natalie. The atmosphere was tense from the moment I walked in. My mom tried to break the ice with small talk, but it was obvious that everyone was waiting for the inevitable confrontation. My brother's wife was the first to speak up. She said, in the most passive-aggressive tone possible, that she was sorry I felt excluded from the wedding, and that it was never her intention to hurt anyone. She then added that planning a wedding is stressful and that you can't always make everyone happy. I couldn't hold back. I told her that this wasn't about wedding stress. It was about deliberate choices that excluded people like Emma and David's boyfriend. I reminded her that inclusivity isn't a burden, it's the bare minimum. My brother jumped in to defend her, saying that I was blowing things out of proportion and making it all about me. That's when Natalie chimed in. She stood up for me, saying that she'd seen how hurt I was and how unfair the whole situation had been. She even mentioned how David had felt similarly, which seemed to catch my parents by surprise. The conversation spiraled from there. My brother doubled down, saying that it was their wedding and their rules, and if I couldn't respect that, then maybe I didn't respect them as a couple. My mom started crying. My dad told everyone to calm down, and I just sat there wondering why I'd ever thought this dinner was a good idea. Eventually, I had enough. I stood up and told them that I was done trying to mend a relationship with people who clearly didn't respect me or my partner. I said I'd always hoped my family would have my back, but it was clear that some of them cared more about appearances than about the people they claimed to love. I walked out and I haven't looked back since. Since that night, I've gone no contact with my brother and his wife. My parents have tried to reach out, but I've kept them at arm's length. I told them that if they can't accept Emma as a part of my life, then they can't fully be a part of it either. It's been hard, but it's also been freeing. Emma and I recently moved to a new city, and we're loving the fresh start. I've reconnected with David and Natalie, and we've formed a little support system of our own. Sometimes I still think about the family I've lost, but I remind myself that I haven't lost them. I've just stopped letting their toxicity control me. And honestly, my life is so much better for it. What do you think? Was I right to walk away? Or should I have kept trying to repair the relationship? I'd love to hear your thoughts.